How much does a polar bear weigh? Enough to break the ice. I'm Jake. This is Daniel. This is EWS Sports. We're doing college football. We have a lot to talk about. Let's get right into it.
College football week 11 review. We're going to start off with our impact performers from last week. Jake, what do you got for us?
All right. Well, I have Dorial Green-Beckham, the Mizzou wide receiver. He had 100 receiving yards versus Kentucky, and he had 4 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, great game for him. Missouri's looking good. They really got a shot to make the championship if they beat Bama in the SEC championship.
Yeah, they do. I mean, Matty Mock coming in for James Franklin, he's just looked outstanding for a backup.
And who's next for you?
Oh, next I have our first defensive impact performer that we've done on this. Miles Jack, the UCLA linebacker. Along with 8 tackles and a fumble recovery, he also had 120 rushing yards and a rushing TD versus Arizona.
Wow, linebacker getting some carries?
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
You don't see that very often.
And your number one performer?
My number one is Bryce Petty, the Baylor quarterback. He's just looked outstanding the whole year. But against Oklahoma, a very good Big 12 defense, he had 204 passing yards, 3 passing TDs, and 2 goal line rushing TDs.
Great game for Baylor, really making a statement against Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So next we're going to go to our notable storylines from last week. First I got Michigan again, their rushing attack with negative 21 yards. Back-to-back weeks, under 0 yards rushing, and only 175 yards of total offense against Nebraska.
Yeah, Michigan just hasn't looked their best this year. Their offense is just atrocious this year. I mean, there's no way to describe it. They just haven't looked like themselves.
Yeah, you nailed it there. Next storyline is Duke beat NC State 38-20. Each team with 4 turnovers, and that's the fifth straight win for Duke, who's playing Miami this week.
Yeah, you really love Duke, don't you?
I love them.
All right.
And then next we have Tyler Murphy, who's questionable for the game against South Carolina with a sprained shoulder. That'd be tough for Florida. Their backup is a freshman, Skylar Morningwig, and they really need to win this game.
Yeah, South Carolina's on upset alert this week versus Florida. I mean, I don't know if they're going to pull it out.
Next, we got Mariota. Injury report, his knee is okay, and he's ready to go versus Utah this week. That's a good sign for the Ducks, trying to bounce back. And speaking of the Ducks losing to Stanford last week, I owe a shout-out to Elliot Lapin. I've called against Stanford 3 times this year. I've missed all 3 times, so I apologize for that. Stanford's looked great. And do you have any big games?
All right, next our big games are first on Thursday night, Baylor defeated Oklahoma. That was a top 10 matchup by a score of 41-12. I mean, Bryce Petty and the Baylor offense just looked great, and so did their defense.
Great game, fun to watch, a lot of offense.
Yeah, not for Oklahoma though, only putting up 12 points. Second, Stanford defeated Oregon 26-20. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, this was a shocker for me. I picked Oregon in it. Tyler Gaffney getting 45 carries. Man, he plowed through the Oregon defense. They could not stop him all game. Great win for Stanford.
Yeah, Stanford was shutting out Oregon for the first 3 quarters, and then Oregon started to make a comeback, but they just couldn't make it in time. All right, next, Virginia Tech upset Miami, who was previously number 11 in the nation, by a score of 42-24.
Yeah, Duke Johnson's injured. He's getting ankle surgery, so he'll be out this week against Duke. Interesting game.
All right, in our next game, Pitt was able to upset 23 Notre Dame by a score of 28-21.
Notre Dame has not impressed me this year.
Yeah. Next, one of the games that we followed, UCF versus Houston. The Cougars just couldn't pull it out on the road. They were at a goal line situation, and UCF defense just stopped them. It was 19-14.
Fun game to watch.
Yeah, it was a very fun game. And now UCF controls their own destiny for the AAC.
In our last game, we're going to look at... No, I'm sorry, 2 more games.
3.
3 more games?
Yeah, 3.
Okay, what's the first one?
All right, Wisconsin defeated BYU. We also covered that game by a score of 27-17. Taysom Hill looked strong, but they just couldn't pull it out.
Yeah, I saw that one coming. Wisconsin's defense looked good.
You picked BYU.
I picked Wisconsin.
You picked BYU.
I promise you, I picked Wisconsin.
Okay.
Next game, Kansas State defeats number 25 Texas Tech 49-26. Tech's third loss of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Texas Tech started out very strong, probably one of the best teams in the country, but they've just had 3 straight losses. They just haven't looked themselves. I don't know if it's Baker Mayfield or I don't know what it is.
Yep.
And next, the big one that we covered, Alabama remains number 1 in the nation by defeating LSU by a score of 38-17. What were your thoughts on that game?
Alabama is just playing some sound football. No mistakes. Great game offensively, great game defensively. They look perfect.
Does that game to secure their number 1 spot so no one can pass them up?
Definitely. But in 2 weeks, it'll be interesting to see them play Auburn because I think Auburn has a good shot.
Yeah.
That's it for our Week 11 review on college football.
Yeah, watch our next video where we have our first guest picker picking some games.
This is EWS Sports Podcasting.
Here comes the ready or not. Here comes the boys for the sound. Here comes the